Next come corporations who borrow large sums, those on lucrative government contracts for new ventures, particularly overseas, banks' associate companies and partners, those that borrow early and at low rates, and the bank's senior employees. They all quickly get their share of the pie. In some cases, this will come in the form of bonuses. But what about those at the bottom of the pyramid? Those on fixed wages or incomes, those who live in remote areas, or those with savings? By the time this newly created money has filtered down to them, the prices of the things they want to buy have increased. Their savings buy them less, however, and their wages remain largely unchanged. In some cases, they have to take on debt just to be able to afford the things they were previously able to buy, which means they have to go back to the banks. In reality, this process of creating money only redistributes wealth from the bottom to the top of the pyramid, and thus that ever-increasing gulf between rich and poor gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Again, we're playing a game. This is why I asked the question before we went to break. Very important. What would your relationship be worth if the dollar collapsed? Are we putting way too much emphasis on money, its importance? If we look at that video, the fiat money. Remember 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard. Before then, you could take a $20 bill certificate and go into a bank. It was a gold certificate. Here's $20, give me $20 in gold. Remember the question, what's the difference between money and currency? We've got currency, we don't have money, right? That video explained it, and these are the social game rules that we're interfacing with. We have, again, on the phone, Patricia and Michael, right? Patricia, Michael, did you guys hear the video?
Hi, we're here.
Did you guys hear that video?
Yeah.
The Matrix. We're in the Matrix. Neil?
Sketchy, so it's kind of... Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great.
Were you able to hear that video at all?
A bit of it, yeah. And I mean, I think I don't know a whole lot about the gold standard and economics, but it's certainly true that we're living in an era when the gap is getting wider and wider between rich and poor, and the middle class is disappearing. So I think to take it back to relationships, you got to have a strong relationship and then deal with the money.
Yes.
You're playing games if you're thinking that you're not on equal footing with your partner and you're buying her time, or she's looking for, a man who can provide for her, which I used to get when I did like the single websites years ago,
It's an awful premise to start a relationship on, and it's basing a relationship on commerce and a zero-sum game, and it's not relational. It's playing one another for manipulation reasons, and we strongly advise people not to go down that track.
And that's I think that's good advice. However, we live in a capitalist society, and I believe that the first thing we think about is what resources am I dating? What resources am I buying into?
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think all relationships start that way.
Most of them.
Well, I mean, you live in a town where there's a lot of that going on, so you might be a little bit tainted. But I do think a lot of times...
I'm tainted?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe. I don't know. I said you might be. I'm not sure.
It's all good. You might be. Something's wrong with you, so.
No, but I don't... I think that a lot of people do in the real world or go into relationships for whatever they believe are the right reasons. It might be for love or whatever, but then financial issues take a tug on you. And I think, especially with the economic problems that are in our country right now, there might be higher instances of people, like maybe that girl that would have been, just kind of out taking care of herself, falling for somebody naturally, whatever. Now it's kind of like she has a little bit of an economic pinch. Okay, if I date this guy, I know that he'll take care of this and that. And I think maybe even the economic situation leads to more of that.
But do you see the hustle? To me, watching that video is clear. Banks make money out of thin air. Yeah. Out of nothing. Our money is based on our belief in it. I think money is the biggest, coldest religion on planet Earth. Bobby?
Well, this phrase is imperative to understand perceived value. 5 years ago, the banking industry collapsed. The financial industry collapsed. And AIG was the principal focus of that. They were upside down. The legislation was passed to underwrite putting them back in the market. They were too big to fail. Now, they are flush with cash right now, and so are the banks. But they holding the money because too many Americans went out to lunch and never really connected the dots and understood that that's my money that they're playing with. And as it relates to relationships, it's hard to get people, particularly in the black culture, to sit down and become financially literate and to understand how things that are happening around the world have a direct impact upon their ability to thrive, survive, and prosper.
Right. I just think, Patricia and Michael, really quickly, I want you guys to give your website again and whatever book you guys have or direct people to, because we got a lot of fans and followers. They want to find out what your movement is. What is the website that people can connect to you on?
The website is www.mikesandjohnson.com.
Mm-hmm.
And
our current book title is Partners in Passion, a guide to great sex, emotional intimacy, and long-term love.
Wow. And let me just say this, Mike. You said something that I think is more important. You got to have a strong relationship before you have this conversation about money, or before money takes the forefront of what your relationship should be about. I think there are other currencies that make relationships valuable. I think intimacy is a currency. I think understanding, communication, all of these are currencies to me that are more valuable than money. But we tend to put money in front of the other currencies that actually make your relationship good, meaningful, and purposeful to your life. To me, as long as money takes the forefront, you're going to be subject to the machinations and movements and fluctuations of the market. I'm telling you, I got with this dude because he was rich, or I got with this dude because he had things. But then what if he takes a hit? You don't love him no more? You're on to the next movement? Is that what it's about?
Right. And I would include trust in that currency.
That's
I think trust as a currency is really important in relationships.
So only when you have the trust can you then have the conversation about the money.
So before we leave you guys, or you guys leave us, give us a couple of remedies for dealing with money. Like, what should people do in a relationship where they're like moving forward together and it's time to have that talk? How would you engage in that talk? Really quickly, give us a couple of tips.
First thing, we would advise people to not while communication is important, we feel talking is overrated. So
go deeper.
If you're going to have a tough conversation, sit in silence and just gaze at each other for at least 5 minutes.
They having a lot of sex, man.
They having some really good sex. They having good sex.
Happy,
you can hear it in them, right?
I'm looking at them photographs. They smiling, man.
I just wanted to look at you before I talk about the bank account. I'm just going to stare into your eyes. It's a lot of humping going on over there.
It could lead to that, absolutely.
And that's more fun than talking about money.
You better believe it.
You better believe it, right? Well, you know what? I just want to say we really appreciate you guys taking out the time and calling in. You guys had very invaluable information. I hope our fans love it and follow you and participate in your movement. Thanks again for joining the So What Show.
What part of the country are you guys in?
Oh, Bobby wants to know, what part of the country are you guys in?
We're near New York City, Northeast.
There you go. Well, we appreciate it. Well, it's been cold over there, so they've been canoodling all winter. So thanks again. We love you guys. Come back anytime. Appreciate it.
We'd be happy to. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So again, I'm playing videos I like to play devil's advocate, because I'll hear people say, you got to have your shit together. Right? You got to have your life in order. Mm-hmm. In other words, you got to play the game. You got to get with the program. But everybody gets with the program for the short-term benefits. Long-term, they have no idea what's about to happen. And then they don't even know the strength of the relationship because they always play in the short term. We're about to take a quick break. So what in the building? I'm challenging you. Woo! Yeah!
Can you help me out a little bit?
Nah, man. You got to catch up, Uncle Bobby. You the bridge back to the past. We got to get that wisdom. That dude is the future right here.
I need a translator.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ZWMS Morning Show back in the building. Another topic, money, mistakes, and management, and its effect on our relationships. Very important topic. We got another great guest on the line. Before I introduce her, though, let me ask some questions. Let's talk about money. Why is money the number one cause of divorce, relationship strife? You know, our guest has to hear these questions. Is your relationship prepared for the next global disaster or political event? How do you shelter your money? How do you shelter your savings account? How do you discipline yourself to be able to put money aside, especially in a tumultuous economy like the one we're in right now? You know, it's a lot going on to where your money is worth less and less and less. The more money in circulation, the less it's worth. How do you protect that? We've got somebody on the line right now that is exceedingly knowledgeable in this field. She's worked with everybody, man. She's called the Money Coach. She is a personal finance expert, television and radio personality, and the author of numerous books, including the New York Times bestseller, Zero Debt. Some people believe money in and of itself is debt. She gonna talk to us about it, though, right? She wrote the book, Zero Debt, The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom. Her name is Lynnette Khalfani, and you know, at one point she was in $100,000 in debt. Took her 3 years to pay it off. You know, credit card debt. She paid it off and rebounded, and since then has appeared on all types of national television programs: Oprah, Dr. Phil, Tyra Banks, Good Morning America. She's cold. She's heavy. I bring in folk that can take off from the free throw line and dunk with a blindfold on, and she's one of them. Lynnette Khalfani, welcome to the ZWMS Morning Show. Let's talk.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. This been overdue.
It's been overdue since the last time you did the show on the Foxhole, but hey, we still here.
I know.
So talk to me.
This is a great topic to talk about, I tell you, because a lot of folks need to get their money right, and definitely if you're in a relationship, you really doubly and triply need to get it straight.
Well, talk to us about some of the...
be a pathway to wealth and a way to move forward for the both of you, or it can be a way that tears you apart.
Wow.
You know, individually, professionally, your relationship, etc. So this is a good subject.
Wow, this is good. So talk to us about ways that money could be a pathway to wealth for a married couple. Just give us that example, please.
Well, one of the things that I think a lot of people aren't really aware of is when you look at wealth, certainly in this country, in the United States, that almost across the board, people who are coupled up, people who have their little boo, they could be married to them or not, they can be gay or straight, they can be black, white, Asian, Latino, or other, nationality. Two partners pulling together, generally speaking, fare much better off financially than one. And it's not just because they're going to get economies of scale and, two people who are living together have a shared household expenses and food costs and only one overhead when it comes to the rent or the mortgage and all that. Of course, those things help, but it goes beyond that. It's because when setbacks come along as well, and they invariably will, two people can financially weather a storm better than one can. So if one person gets sick, the other person might have an income stream or the ability to work a second job, et cetera, to make up for that lost income. If one person gets laid off from the job, that second person can stand in. So across the board, when you look at it, married people and people in relationships who are proactively working together and on the same page financially, they do much better off financially than do single people by and large.
Right. And the number one indicator of success in America is marriage. And the number one indicator of financial ruin is divorce.